He wasn't meant to be the star, not in the way his father was, not in the way legends usually begin. Davide Ancelotti was born in the shadow of a footballing icon, a surname that echoed through Europe, a legacy that weighed more than any trophy. While others dreamed of scoring goals, he dreamed of understanding the game, not the crowd, not the fame, the game. From a young age, Davide sat on the training benches while Carlo, his father, managed some of the greatest teams on the planet. He wasn't kicking balls under stadium lights. He was observing tactics, listening to halftime talks, watching how and why decisions were made. While others ran, he studied. There was a silence in his presence, a calm that made people overlook him. But behind that silence, a mind was building itself, brick by brick, game by game. He didn't have to prove himself to the world. He had to prove himself to the legacy. Because wearing the name Ancelotti wasn't a shortcut. It was a mirror, one that constantly asked, "Who are you without him?" So he started learning, fast. He earned his coaching licenses at an age where most players are still fighting for a place on the bench. He spent hours with analysts, not just watching matches, but breaking them apart. He read psychology, physiology, leadership. He became obsessed with the invisible side of football. And when someone asked him what it felt like to grow up under such a giant name, he answered, "Pressure? Number? My father never forced me to be like him. He just showed me how to be the best version of myself." In silence, in humility, in fire. You'd think that being the son of a football legend would open every door. It didn't. In fact, it made every door heavier. Davide knew early on. People don't just watch you when you carry a famous name, they judge you. They assume you didn't earn it. They assume you're just a shadow, a convenient passenger on someone else's train. And Davide, he felt it, in every room, in every whisper. The looks from players who thought, "He's only here because of his father." The doubts from fans who asked, "What has he done?" It stung, because he wasn't just carrying a legacy. He was trying to carve his own. But when you're young, and they hand you a tactical board instead of a jersey, you better know what you're doing. You don't get second chances. One of his early stints as assistant was met with cold silence. He gave feedback to players twice his age, and they nodded. But their eyes said, "You haven't been there. You don't get it." That doubt seeped into him. At night, Davide questioned himself. Maybe they were right. Maybe football wasn't meant for minds like his. But then came the turning point. He remembered what he had seen in locker rooms growing up. The pressure, the pain, the responsibility. And one night, he told himself, "If they don't trust me yet, I'll learn it. One analysis at a time, one game at a time, one whisper at a time." He stopped trying to prove himself. He started working like he didn't care who was watching. While others partied, he broke down match footage. While others slept, he designed new training frameworks. He asked more questions than anyone in the room. He became a sponge, a strategist, a servant of the process. And slowly, the room began to listen. He didn't force respect. He built it. Not with authority, but with precision, with humility, with clarity. Because those who are meant to lead don't need to scream. They just need to be right when it counts. Respect doesn't arrive in thunder. It whispers first. And for Davide Ancelotti, the whispers finally began. His role as assistant coach wasn't just a title anymore. Players, those same ones who once looked past him, started to seek him out, not for approval, but for answers. Because Davide had something they could feel, a calm under pressure, a vision in the chaos. He could look at a midfield imbalance and redesign it in seconds, spot a defender's hesitation and know why it was happening, even before the player did. He wasn't just reading the game, he was rewriting it, When he followed his father to Napoli, then Bayern, then Everton, and eventually to Real Madrid, people began to notice something. Where Davide went, teams got smarter, tactically sharper, more adaptive. He didn't scream on the sidelines, he didn't throw water bottles or wave his arms. But when halftime came, his words landed like surgical strikes, precise, targeted, effective. And then came the moment that changed everything, a Champions League night at the Bernabéu. Tension was thick. His father stood silently, watching. Davide stepped forward, gave tactical instructions, shifted the midfield pressing lines, and it worked. The game changed. They turned it around, and for the first time, the cameras turned to him, not the man in the suit beside him, not the name that built the stage, but the quiet presence with the fire behind his eyes. After the match, when asked about his role, he said, "Football is not about ego. It's about understanding people. If you understand what they feel, you can lead them anywhere." That quote was shared across Europe. Suddenly, pundits began calling him one of the sharpest young minds in football. Clubs began to ask, "Who is Davide Ancelotti really?" And for the first time, the world asked not who his father was, but who he was becoming. And the answer was clear. He was becoming a leader. It wasn't about trophies anymore. It was about proving that his mind, his process, his vision could stand on the global stage and win. At Real Madrid, the stakes are never low. The noise never fades. Every decision is judged. Every result is eternal. And there, in the biggest club in history, Davide found his true redemption. He wasn't just assisting his father anymore. He was co-architect of strategies that led Madrid to Champions League glory. During the 2022 and 2023 campaigns, players spoke openly about his influence. Behind the calm eyes was a fire that kept burning, a hunger not to be known, but to be undeniable. Then came the call from the Brazilian national team, a challenge of a different magnitude, new culture, new pressure, new eyes, and Davide took it, not with arrogance, but with a quiet certainty, because now he no longer walked behind his father's name. He walked beside it. Training sessions changed, tactics evolved. Players began whispering about the Italian mind that was helping shape their game. And when Brazil danced on the pitch, Davide had a hand in the choreography. And yet, he stayed invisible, because true greatness doesn't scream to be seen. I too just keeps showing up. Then, in a quiet interview, he finally admitted, "My dream is to manage Real Madrid one day. I don't have to tell Florentino Perez that. I just have to be ready." And still, he hadn't finished. The world had seen his mind, but they hadn't seen his full power. Yet. One day, the spotlight fades, the chants grow quiet, the stadium's empty. And what remains is the impact. Davide Ancelotti understands this better than most. He never craved fame. He never chased applause. He chased clarity. He chased meaning. And now, the footballing world sees him as something rare. Not just a coach, not just a student of the game, but a bridge between generations. He speaks the language of modern tactics. He understands the pressure today's athletes carry, the fear of failing publicly, the burden of perfection, the war inside their minds. And because of that, he coaches from the soul. He doesn't yell to control. He guides to liberate. He listens. He feels. And then, with precision, he adjusts the pieces. One by one, young coaches across Europe study his methods now. Clubs have built programs based on his session structures. He's become the quiet standard others compare themselves to. But Davide doesn't talk legacy. He talks responsibility. "If I lead one person to become better, on the pitch or off, I've done enough. The goal isn't to be remembered. The goal is to be useful." That is the heart of his story. Not a boy who grew up in greatness, but a man who earned his own through humility, obsession, and a relentless drive to serve the game. He walks through locker rooms with the same quiet focus he had as a boy sitting behind the bench. But now, when he speaks, the room listens. And as the world speculates about when he'll take over Real Madrid, he just keeps preparing. Because greatness isn't about rushing toward the moment. It's about being ready when the moment comes. And if one day he walks alone into the manager's seat of the greatest club on earth, it won't be because of his name. It will be because of his grit, because of the invisible hours, the unseen sacrifices, the belief that silence, when directed with purpose, is louder than any roar. You don't have to be loud to be powerful. You just have to be clear and consistent. That's Davide Ancelotti, not the shadow, not the sun, the mind, the message, the man.